everybody, welcome to another episode of Cooking with Coastline, and I'm here today with Brienne Cedris, who's an intern training to be a dietitian. So we're really excited to have you here today.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. So a little bit about me is I am a dietetic intern with South Coast Hospital Group, and I also have my bachelor's in culinary arts from Johnson & Wales.
Awesome.
I know, it's so great. Cooking is just a big thing for me, and trying to make healthy recipes is a huge part of what I want to bring to the community. So today, actually, we're going to be making some recipes that are healthy that you can have in your pantry, which is great. So let me introduce to you what we're going to do today. We're going to make a savory chickpea dish and a dessert, which sounds kind of, I don't really know how I feel about having a bean in my dessert, but you guys will be really surprised.
It's awesome, trust me. I was a little skeptical when I heard we were doing Chickpea Blondies, but honestly, once I tried it, I was blown away by how awesome it was.
Yeah, and it's so minimal. So both of these recipes, if you can see on the counter, this is it. This is all we have. So it's things that we can find in our pantry at really any given time. And these recipes are totally adaptable. So you can add whatever you like to them. So first, I think we should make some chips. So
great idea. Great idea. So we put our oven on at 350 degrees. And I had some whole wheat bread lying at home. So why not make chips, right? A lot of times we'll make it with tortilla chips. That's kind of more the, or tortillas, like whole wheat tortillas or something like that. But why not make it with bread, right? We're going to show you how to do that. You just give me that pan right over there,
yes,
Brie. Beautiful.
So these chips I actually introduced to Stephanie this week, which was really awesome. So she asked me to find a recipe that I could do at home, something that kind of stuck with me, and I was like, oh, so when I was in college, we didn't always have chips, but we had bread. So what we're doing here is, I also didn't have a rolling pin, which can be a hassle sometimes. I know that rolling pins are kind of hard to come by. If you don't already have one, you don't want to go and buy one.
Right, or how often do you use one, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So what we're doing here is we're using our container to actually press our chips. So
you can get out all your frustrations too, which is great.
Yeah, it really is. It's kind of a stress reliever.
This is great for college students, right?
Yeah, definitely, because you always have bread that's hanging around that might go bad, you don't want to use it.
It's starting to get stale or something like that.
So it's a great alternative, and you're using what you have, which is awesome. So Stephanie's over there getting out all her frustrations.
I know. And this is great, you know, and you wouldn't think that these would be like crunchy enough, because we think of bread, oh, it's so, you know, light and fluffy.
Yeah.
But really, once you cook them, it only takes 10 minutes, right?
Yeah,
10 minutes. So fast.
Yeah, so as Stephanie mentioned, we have our oven preheated to 350 degrees, and we will only have to cook these chips for 10 minutes, which is awesome.
Okay. And when we made these the other day, we put cumin on there because we actually have a lot of cumin over at Coastline. And then we did pepper, and you could smell the cumin. It was baking in the oven. It smelled amazing. But again, we're doing garlic powder here. So really, any spices at home would do.
Yeah,
any spices at home
that you have. And we're actually also going to use some olive oil to crisp up our chips.
Okay, I'm just going to put this over the side here. So we're just going to cut them into cute little triangles here. If you want to do squares, you can do squares, but I think the triangles are a little more fancy.
Yeah, and it's great holding for your dip.
Exactly.
So.
Okay. And when we're putting them in the pan too, we want to make sure that they're evenly spread too,
yes,
right?
You don't want any soggy chips.
Yeah, no, nobody wants that.
Yeah, so they're actually really similar to pita chips, which is great.
Mm-hmm. Love pita chips.
Love pita chips, but it's more cost effective in my mind to buy a loaf of bread for $1.99 and use it for so many different things.
Absolutely. Or if you were doing some kind of fruit dip, you could do a cinnamon and sugar chip.
Yeah,
that would be wonderful.
Sweet or savory.
Yep. That would be good for the summertime. And too, this is something so easily that your grandkids could do. You know, my daughter could do, 2 years old. She would love to smash a piece of bread to smithereens there.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we have our chips here. And again, you just want to spread them out evenly. Okay, as evenly as possible. Okay. And so I'm going to start sprinkling some olive oil, some garlic powder. Okay.
Also, what we were trying to highlight along with having our ingredients readily available is minimal dishes. So you don't have to use a bowl and mix everything. You can just do it right in the pan.
Yep. And let me tell you, busy mom, last thing I want to do is have a ton of dishes to do.
Absolutely. I fully agree. So while Stephanie is seasoning our chips, I'm going to start working on our hummus.
Great.
So what's great about this hummus is we're trying to utilize what we have. So I found that I like it with carrots. You can do it with peas, beets, any kind of color that you're looking for. Because sometimes hummus is just a little lame. It's like, it's a brown. Our chips are brown. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to use 1 can of chickpeas. And I'm going to put it in. I really love my little Ninja blender because look at, you can fit all of it in there.
Fit 1 can in.
Yeah, 1 full can in. Also, the carrots vary to your liking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with about 1/4 of the carrots and 3/4 chickpeas. So I have that in our little blender. It might be a little loud. So if it does kind of make like that loud, just irritating noise that, you know, bothers everybody, you can add in a little bit of water, or in our case, since we want to use lemon juice anyway, we're going to just add in a little bit of lemon juice now, so it just kind of blends everything a little smoother.
Right.
Because our chickpeas have all that fiber and whatnot in it, and we keep the skins on them. We don't have to worry about peeling them, and it adds in all those extra nutrients.
Exactly.
And why not? So we have here.
And I love that we have the little lemon juice that you keep in the fridge, because not everybody has fresh lemons all the time.
Absolutely.
Right? You know, so that's a great way to add you know, some vitamin C to your dishes, add a little bit of extra flavor without adding a lot of salt to it.
Yeah, and acid is a good way to mimic the salt flavor and taste in our mouth. This is kind of like what we were talking about before, how it kind of binds up at the top.
Yep.
With this blender, it's a little bit smaller than the blender that we have over there. So you just got to try to get it all in there. We might have to add some water, which is totally cool. Don't feel like that's going to take away from the integrity of our hummus. So that's what I'm going to do. So if you want to continue what you were doing, I'm just going to add some water to this.
Absolutely. So we have our chips cooking in the oven. Should I start on the chickpeas, do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think that that's an awesome idea.
The Chickpea Blondies?
Yeah, the Chickpea Blondies.
Okay, awesome. So, you know, and so we have Bree here who has her Ninja bullet. A lot of us just have a blender or a hand mixer or immersion blender. Could you use an immersion blender too for this?
Yeah, they're all really great utensils to use.
Yep.
You just might find that it'll take a little longer with one opposed to the other.
Okay. So we're going to add 1 can of chickpeas. Again, who would have ever thought that we would use chickpeas in dessert? It's so awesome.
Yeah, it's really great because it substitutes our flour and a lot of our fat from our dishes. shake it all down there.
It looks good.
It does. It's a really nice orange color. I'm not sure if you guys can see.
Beautiful.
But it's a really vibrant color. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to scoop it into our bowl, and I'm going to add our seasonings there. So I find that this helps me because, as you can see, the blender kind of gets a little clogged up, and I can see exactly what I'm adding and how that affects the hummus itself.
And a lot of us wouldn't think about adding canned vegetables to hummus, because when we go to the store, a lot of times it's roasted red pepper hummus or a garlic hummus.
Yeah.
But you can easily just add any kind of vegetable from your pantry there.
Any kind of vegetable, which is really great. I find that peas works really well. And sometimes I'll make like layered dips. I've done that with schooling and some catering events, so then it gives some drama to what you're plating.
Beautiful.
So, also, you can leave whole chickpeas or whole carrots. You can chop some up.
Yep.
If you'd like to use onions, you can put that in there. So I'm mixing everything all in here. We're going to use some onion powder, some ginger, and paprika, which I thought was really great that we had that in our pantry
already.
So what I like to do is I like to kind of eyeball things because I know what they're going to taste, but it's also really good to kind of start with half a teaspoon or a quarter of a teaspoon, blend it in,
work your way up.
Because you know what you want best.
Right, exactly.
So I put in probably about a teaspoon of the onion powder. I'm going to put in about a teaspoon of ginger, because ginger and garlic is like one of those things like peas and carrots. You usually find ginger with it, and it'll give it a different taste.
Now, I noticed that in this particular recipe, we don't have tahini in it. And a lot of times, tahini is used in hummus.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily have to have tahini in hummus?
To call it hummus. No, it's
Okay.
just the blending of the chickpeas to make like a dip. But I find that if I don't have tahini, I'll use a couple tablespoons of peanut butter, something like that.
Oh, peanut butter in the hummus app.
Yeah, so really good too. The tahini just gives it a really nice nutty flavor, because chickpeas have a nutty kind of flavor to begin with, and it kind of brings it out. And traditionally, it's made with tahini.
Right.
So I have our paprika in here, and then right before we serve it, I'm actually going to drizzle some olive oil on the top, so then that way you get like that nice kind of fatty mouthfeel.
Yep. Awesome. So if you're in a bind, companies coming over, know that you can make an awesome dip and chips right from your pantry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So if that same company is coming over for dessert as well, we're going to feed them lots of chickpeas today.
Yeah, and they might not even realize that it's chickpeas in this dish. Like, it's a great one for kids. I've done this recipe in K through 12s before, and they don't even know that it's chickpeas until I tell them.
No, because it's so decadent, it's so moist that really you couldn't tell. You could not tell.
So how much peanut butter are you putting in there?
So we're putting about half a cup of peanut butter. Okay. And you said before, Bree, that we're using a natural peanut butter only because that's the personal preference. It's what I have in my house. But you don't have to use natural peanut butter,
Absolutely
right?
not. You don't have to use it. You can use whatever you have hanging around.
Okay. And if you wouldn't mind, Bree, if you could pour me a 1/3 cup of the syrup here. And so we had some leftover agave from our recipe before that we did earlier this week.
Yep.
So that's why we decided to use agave today. So it's great for people who are diabetic because it's low on the glycemic index. But if you had honey, you could use honey. If you had maple syrup, you could use maple syrup. So it's really versatile.
Okay, let me get this pan ready for you.
Sure, I appreciate that. So we're going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Like a half a teaspoon here. 2, okay. 2 teaspoons vanilla extract. Have you ever made your own vanilla extract?
We have boiled vanilla and kind of made it into a syrup, but I don't know if that's really like a vanilla extract.
No. So now I'm going to add a half a teaspoon of salt. And Brie was just telling me how important salt is when baking.
Yeah, so salt is important in this recipe because we're not using any eggs, we're not using any anything really to keep everything together. So
Yep.
we're relying solely on the baking soda and baking powder to do it. And salt and baking powder have a reaction that kind of gives us the fluffy taste that we have in these brownies.
Great.
So
So we need a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda and baking powder.
okay.
Now when cooking, do you normally need equal parts to both?
Most of the time it is, but that's not always the case. You'll find usually that you'll have more baking powder opposed to baking soda.
Gotcha.
So when measuring these types of ingredients, you really want to make sure that you have like a really flush edge. You don't want to over add.
Okay. All right, so now we're gonna blend all of our ingredients together. And then once that's done, we're gonna add our chocolate chips in the end. So if you wouldn't mind pouring me some chocolate chips.
Yes.
Okay. And here we go. There we go. A 1/3 cup.
Stephanie, why don't you give it a nice spin?
Okay, sure, I could do that.
Yeah, so it's kind of the same problem, not so much problem that we had with the other blender. It's just the chickpeas kind of get caught underneath and we just need a little bit more.
A little bit of a stir.
Yeah, a little bit of a stir so we can get things moving for it. This blender, unfortunately, is a little on the older side and you might find that.
Okay. Oh, I think our chips are done.
Yes, they are. Here, how about I take them out for you?
Awesome. How do they look?
They smell great.
Okay.
Peanut butter we were using actually has peanuts in it. It's a nice crunchy peanut butter, so I'm sure nobody could tell the difference.
No, not at all. Okay, so we're just gonna add this to our pan.
And you'll notice that it's really just thick.
Yes.
And that is totally okay for this recipe. If it's a little runnier, that's when I'd be more concerned because if you looked at like our hummus, it was a nice thick consistency. So
Right.
all chickpea products will give you that kind of feel.
Okay. So good. So now, how long will these bake in the oven for?
They take about 20 to 25 minutes.
Yeah.
What you're looking for is just a nice golden top, making sure that everything's, the knife, when you stick it in, it will come out clean. So that's kind of the qualities that you're looking for. You don't want to keep them in too long. And that's because we don't want it to dry out. We don't want any crunchy kind of dry, sad chickpea brownies.
No, we most certainly do not. Okay, so now the fun part, right? We get to taste everything. So we actually already made one of these beforehand. So Brie, if you wouldn't mind pulling that out for me.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Beautiful.
So,
Ta-da!
I don't know if everybody can see. This is kind of what we're looking for. It's all together. It doesn't look really dry, and it's a nice golden brown.
And it looks delicious.
It does.
Looks delicious. And we brought these to work so that everybody at Coastline could try them.
Yes.
Huge success.
Definitely.
Huge success.
We wouldn't do a recipe that we didn't think was worth it.
Right.
So you can also plate this all up. We have the hummus and make a nice platter presentation. But in our case, we're just going to eat it right out of the
That's
bowl.
right. If you wouldn't mind pouring me some of that or giving me a teaspoon.
Yeah, here.
Awesome. This is my favorite part of the show, is when we get to try everything. Favorite part of the show. Okay.
This recipe usually gives about 12 or so 1-inch brownies.
Okay, so hopefully I can get these out of here.
Maybe if you...
Here.
I'll do it for you.
Bree's the expert.
There we go. And I'll take mine.
They're a little crumbly, but that's okay. They're really, really moist though, and that's what's important.
That is what's really important.
Okay, let's give it a taste.
Yeah, they're really good.
It's awesome, right?
Really awesome, yeah.
You would never tell that there are chickpeas in here,
Totally.
ever. Mm-mm.
And then we have our chips here. If you guys can look, they're a really nice golden color. Almost like what we'd like a crouton, but much smaller.
Exactly.
Everything's got a really nice orange look to it.
It does. You know, I really taste that ginger coming through.
Mm-hmm.
It's so nice. It's a really refreshing hummus.
Yeah, it's a little lighter than if you were to use just the chickpeas. And if you find that you don't like a thick hummus, in this case, just add a little bit more water like I did, which is so great.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Bree, thank you for joining us.
Of course, it was a pleasure being here.
Okay, awesome. And we'll see you next time.